As steam hissed from the pressure cooker, Grandma reached out with trembling hands, her palms blistering instantly from the heat. She winced in pain, but before anything worse could happen, Bryce rushed in and swept her into his arms, racing her to the hospital. Thankfully, her burns weren't serious, but the doctor's diagnosis hit Bryce like a freight train. Alzheimer's. She wouldn't get better. He didn't have the heart to tell her the truth. He could only hope, somehow, that things might improve. But the disease had already begun to take its toll. The next day, Jenna came over to visit. Grandma had a surprise, piping hot buns fresh from the steamer. She smiled as she opened the lid, only to find nothing inside but boiling water. Confused, she whispered, "Why is this happening to me?" Then suddenly, her hand slipped. Scalding water splashed across Jenna's arms, and she cried out in pain. Bryce rushed her to the hospital, leaving Grandma alone, shaken and ashamed. The guilt consumed her. She couldn't understand what was happening to her, or why she kept hurting the people she loved. And then, things got worse. One day, she was supposed to attend Bryce's parent-teacher meeting. He waited for hours. But when he returned home, the house was locked. The teacher said she'd already left. Panic set in. Bryce ran to her food stall, asked every vendor in sight, nothing. Until, at last, he returned home and heard faint footsteps at the gate. There she was, soaked from the rain, lost, and scared. She'd wandered for hours, unable to find her way home. The moment they locked eyes, Bryce ran to her, holding her tight, terrified of ever losing her again. From that day forward, he kept her safely at home. Using his own creativity, he built a massage device for her hands, and invited Jenna over often to lift her spirits. For a while, Grandma smiled again, but peace never lasted long. One morning, she laid out a crisp military uniform for Bryce. She dressed herself up in her best red flower pin. He smiled, thinking she was feeling better, until she pulled him close, eyes wide with confusion. "There's only one child in this house. Where's my son? What if something happens to me?" Bryce froze. She didn't recognize him anymore. She'd mistaken him for his late uncle Junsheng. From that day on, her mind began to slip faster. She grew paranoid. On one stormy night, Bryce came home to find her wielding a metal rod, shouting at him like he was a stranger. "You're not my boy. You're one of them." Bryce, shaking, pulled out a jade pendant from childhood, desperate to bring her back. But the memories were gone, 20 years buried too deep. To keep her calm, he stepped outside. He didn't know where he was walking until he found himself at school. There, Jenna found him, and without a word, he collapsed into her arms. "She's slipping away, and I can't stop it." With Jenna's gentle reassurance, he regained some strength. But the very next night, he heard soft sobs outside his door. Grandma sat there, clutching an old photo, her hands shaking. She remembered him, only as a little boy. Bryce realized what she wanted, to go home. Back to the village. Back to where everything made sense. But there was a problem. Next week was the biggest test of his life, the college entrance exam. He could get into Tsinghua or Peking University. He had the grades, the talent, the drive. But going home meant giving it all up. That night, Bryce stared at the ceiling. And by morning, he made his choice. He would take Grandma home, before she forgot everything. Then, maybe later, he'd find his own path in the world. The only thing he couldn't leave behind was Jenna. If only she could pass the exam too. Maybe, just maybe, they could find that dream together. But for now, it was time. The next day, Bryce dressed Grandma in a stylish new outfit. He wore a crisp white shirt and his brightest smile. "Grandma," he said, "we've got money now. We're going home. And wherever you want to go next, we'll go. Anywhere is fine, as long as I'm with you." Grandma smiled softly. "Okay, let's go."